hills and build them high. Makes a long time climbing before I die. I want the chance to spit in his eye. Well, they gave me bars, but I can see between to a dusty yard and a long gone green. They call that freedom, if you know what I mean. And I dry my sorrows, but the whiskey's gone. I'm sober as a...
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Shortbangers. I'm Matty. This is episode 61. Joined tonight by John and Colin. Colin, how are you doing?
Very well. How are you?
Good, mate. Good. As good as can be for the Thursday night.
Aye. A late start of the night, Matt.
Busy wee day, yeah. Busy wee day. John, how are you? How are you doing?
Well, when I switched the laptop on Thursday night, I was brilliant. Now that it's fucking early hours Friday morning by the time you started. I'm all right. I'm good.
And that's just on Saturday night shift, Saturday back shifts, and now we're on the fucking night shift.
It's horrendous.
These podcasts.
Horrendous.
Paid enough for this.
Horrendous. So just for context for the listeners, I turned the MacBook on and needed a fucking update. So I was already late for having to take the dog out, and then opened up the MacBook. It's restarted. And I'm, you bastard. Anyway, right. Let's get half an hour on the clock. Do half an hour episode tonight. And start off for that one. First question of the night. By the way, before we start, John, Colin, well done for Monday's Longbangers. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was first one I've listened to in fucking ages. And it was good. I was shouting at once, John, when you were likening Craig Gordon to fucking Buffon.
Do you know what I got?
Come on, John. Come on.
I
got stick for Ewan Wilson off down the slope for that as well. He said,
Right.
I agreed with you, but he's a Hearts bastard, so fuck you. And fuck him too.
I had so many things going through my head at the time you said that, and I thought, I just want to get off the subject of Craig Gordon here before we fucking cover too much.
But other than that, thoroughly enjoyed it. I just realised I'm going to put the video versions out yet. Either I've not had a chance, so I'll do that when I do this later on. Right, anyway, first question comes from Mal Bergam. He says, have you ever seen a better headline than this? And it's the headline is, should a man who bummed a Highland Terrier really be driving a lorry? And what's brilliant is I've got a wee picture of the Highland Terrier, but they've blacked out his eyes. so it's not reveal its identity. I think we've talked about good headlines before. I had the one when we went to Loch Lomond Con for Oasis. With the boy that fell down the pipe. I can't remember what the headline was for that, but I remember the picture. It was like that.
What's the reason behind that one though? That the boy can't drive a lorry because he's bummed a duck.
Can he be trusted? I mean, dogs are already nervous around lorries.
But lorry drivers are notorious for
killing prostitutes.
So I think the scale is it's doing a bit.
Well, I suppose. But what I was thinking is, dogs are already nervous about lorries. Barking in the background. He must be talking about them.
He's thinking, no, me.
Any Stobart lorry just went past the window.
So if the Kenton was a bummer going about, then
you'd be on edge.
Aye. So any better headlines than that one? I'm sure somebody else sent one in. Hold on, I'll check.
I can't remember the headline exactly, but it was one of those local angry newspaper photograph, and it was the boy with the Virgin Media who was adamant they were insistent that the couple they hadn't been watching porn. Do you remember the old couple?
The old boy, aye.
The old boy, and he's looking at it, he's got that wee glint in his eye, like, you've definitely been having a Tommy thing.
He's going, this has gone too far, but I can't back out now.
The missus is on the phone at the fucking Hillabin Post.
Desperate to get a 20 quid back off his Sky fucking adult channel or whatever.
Oscar, when I worked at Sky, we had somebody, the woman's husband was a priest, and she was fucking adamant, and we were going, listen, you can't watch it with the PIN number. So, and it's impossible.
Can a priest get married? I thought they had to be celibate.
A vicar, maybe then. I think.
The other side.
Minister, reverend.
Minister, whatever.
Aye, somebody, right. Okay.
A man of the cloth.
Yeah.
Anyway, that cloth being a Kleenex. Oscar Ravage, he replied, and the headline there, he said it was sex with Greg's pasty boils my belly. Now Howard fumes, I'm going to sue. and he looks like somebody who might have ridden a past it, to be fair. There was a Sun headline that said that I've got Elvis in my pelvis, and it was an ultrasound scan of well, the baby looked like Elvis, to be fair.
I can't think of any, but the Viz is always good for it. And the Sunday Sport, obviously, that's where presumably both of them have came through with the sounds of it.
I think so.
See the semi-respectable newspaper. So you mentioned the Sun there. Do you think it's the work experience, the interns, the fledgling journalists that are coming up with a Elvis in my pelvis style pieces? Because they're not exactly news, are they?
It'll not be them, it'll be the folk who have been there for years. They've basically come in had a day where they're just like, I can't be bothered with this shite anymore. They're on the verge of a breakdown. They've just gone, I could go about this like the immigrant crisis or COVID passports. And then they go, nah, get an ultrasound scan of Elvis on the front page and do it now.
Been there 25 years and they've still not had the redundancy that they're looking for.
Journalists always blame is it the sub-editor or somebody that always gets the blame for the headlines? The journalist always distance himself for that. And John, did you just say the Sun is a semi-respectable newspaper?
I don't care what you're thinking about
their totally job. Not in
comparison to the Sunday Sport, like the Sunday Sport's a parody. I was trying not to
any day ahead of the Sun.
I was trying not to give the Sun any credit whatsoever. I apologise. This is my Craig Gordon, Gigi Buffon moment at this point.
Is the Sunday Sport still a thing? Like, is it still a thing you can buy? Like, I've not seen it in the shops.
I think so.
Might be just an online thing. I don't know. I've not been out and bought a paper for a while.
No, I sometimes have a look at the Sunday papers on if I nip it to Tesco, but I can't remember. It would probably be hidden, probably on the bottom shelf or something.
You probably need to go to a newsagent for it rather than Tesco's.
Because I used to work in a paper shop as my part-time Sunday job, and me and one of the boys used to work with. That was your routine on a Sunday once we bagged all the rolls up and started to recover for the Saturday night hangover. Get the Sunday Sport out, and I'm reading the Sunday Sport.
Have a flick through. If you can still buy it, text in where you can buy it to 80295. Just put Sunday Sport and then the name of the shop.
And the headline. And the headline that week.
Now, Kenny says, if a Union Bear gets taken out for a walk, who picks its shite off the footpath? They've been particularly active. I think we spoke about them in the last Shortbangers, didn't we?
I try not to speak about them in case they've got some sort of speech algorithm that they pick up on their bear radar.
Oh, I had a thing where, so off the ball, we're asking about fan media. This kicked off.
I heard it on Sunday. I heard the podcast actually.
So I never listened to it. I saw their tweet. So I was in the house and they were asking about is fan media a bad thing, pretty much. And I replied and said about it being better than the broadcast media now, which is dead stale. Because actually, and I quoted the Hibs community podcast with Down the Slope, Strong Opinion Hibs, HFC Talk, and the Hibsnet podcast. Obviously, didn't quote ourselves, but we're named on it. And I'd say I would say the fan media is better than anything. If you want to find out about Hibs, you just need to go online, listen to one of the podcasts. You'll get better representation than you do in the evening news, etc. And I had that uncomfortable thing where I think it was the Heart and Hand podcast replied to agree, and it felt unnatural. You sort of going, oh, fuck. I don't know what, that's not the side I'm taking. User shite, but our fan content's all right. It was an uncanny thing. I was like, I'm just going to ignore it. I'm not going to engage with them, but I felt uncomfortable. Yeah, I felt like I needed to, when you sit in the shower and scrub yourself for ages, one of those moments.
I saw that.
Your legs.
I've seen that. I got linked, I think, in one of the group chats or something. That one, I did see it, but there was loads of folk with a heart on hand. Is that what it's called? Heart on hand.
Hand and heart, I think. Or heart
hand. Aye. They've got the, what would you call it? Is it an avatar on Twitter? I don't know, but they kind of like the photo that you put. And there was loads of folk with the same photo because they're obviously all gone out and just hanging folk out to dry for stuff they might have or might not have said in the past. Because I think I was just hearing earlier on that Jeannie Godfrey, that pen,
she got hammered.
And I thought, I bet you that's them. I bet you they've been away digging up, like they're just digging everybody up, eh?
Aye.
And it's like 10 years ago. I mean, I'm not bothered like about Jeannie Godfrey. I think she's funny in any way, and I don't know what she's written either. But you just think they're just gone digging everybody out, just because it's like it's the ultimate bit of what about it. But we done it, but look at everybody else that's done it. So just keep well clear of that. So I'm not answering that question for that reason. No comment.
No comment. All right. 150k on Hatland House is, are peacocks just ducks in drag?
Yep.
Did peacocks quack? What noise do they make? Would it be a camp quack? I think what a camp quack would sound like if they were in drag. I think if that's I'm being stereotypical there.
Is drag not just kind of exaggerating no features but makeup and hair and stuff? So
No,
the quack would be way over the top, wouldn't it?
Drag's where you go put the dress on and everything, you know. And what's his face?
But it's
Carl
an outlandish
Pilkington did it
dress.
on A Day Abroad. He did it.
What's the point? What's the point in it, though? Do you know? Like, the people that go and watch it, like, fancy them, or what are they? What are they actually doing it for? What is it? Comedy, or what's the?
I think it. That's a good question, Colin.
Serious question. I'm not.
Are you telling me you didn't watch Drag Race UK?
Never seen it.
Me neither. I've got no idea.
Is that not going to cars are racing?
No,
that's my Drag Race. That's what I'm in.
That's what it used to be.
I don't know. Like there's comedians. Who was it? Lily Savage.
Aye, it was a comedy actor.
Dave
Edna as well. That was it.
Edna.
They were dressed as well, I suppose Lily Savage was a drag act, but Dame Edna was like dressed in as a woman. You know what I mean? Rather than drag queen sort of thing. Whereas then you've got, well, I don't know. There's the ones that are on the. What is it?
Just laughing at us trying to make sense of fucking drag acts. Giving it serious thought. No got a fucking clue.
This is one for off the ball.
Definitely. Tam and Stuart could answer that one. Anyway, the peacocks. When we used to see the peacocks, was it Durnison Road South, Colin? Eh? There's like a, I think in like a old people's home or something that they used to kick about. You get them in the Glen in Dunfermline. There's peacocks there, and apparently there's a story, thinking whether it's true, but one of the restaurants there in that area were running low on meat one night and used the peacock for their dishes. Whether or not that's true, it sounds like an urban myth, doesn't it? One of these.
You know how the peacock's plumage is kind of like it spreads out as part of a mating ritual, and it kind of looks like a fan that a lady might use to cool herself down. Is a peacock small enough that if it had its plumage out, you could just pick it up and fan someone with
it? I think when you pick it up, it would withdraw it.
Aye, it'd probably go rash. I think if they're as dangerous as swans are reputed to be, but I didn't imagine it'd take kindly to get picked up.
No, it's a wee bit sexist as well, suggesting it would only be a woman that would want to fan themselves down. But if that's your beliefs, that's your beliefs.
How often have you seen a man with a fan in his hand just nonchalantly cooling himself down?
Never seen Drag Race UK.
Right, 150k Hannah also asked, what would you rather have? A finger that can heat things up or a finger that chills things down? Would you say chills things down or cools things down?
Well, as cool's taking something from hot to cold, but could you chill? Would it be like a glass of water that you want even colder?
You could make it like ice.
Don't know. Just trying to make sense of the question.
Aye, that kind of makes an odd sense to me because there's probably more things exist at a cold temperature already than there exist at a hot temperature. So, aye. If you can imagine cold being your natural state, you want a finger to warm something up or you want a finger to chill it.
I think there's more practical use. If you think about, this week's been roasting hot outside. Now, if you could just cool yourself down just with your finger. I think what you need to. Well, I'm glad you said the forehead because I was just thinking, where would you to get
Where's the thermometer normally go?
To get full body coolness, and the request you would get for cool food down. But if you stuck in a glass of water or whatever.
Even if you're having a wee rum and coke or something on a Saturday night, you just chuck your
start
with ice and freezing your coke or anything before you start. Just touch the glass. It's cold.
It's a bit X-Men-ish, isn't it? Like, just it's a superpower. What if you could have both? What if you could shoot
one on left hand, one on right hand?
Fireballs out of one finger and I don't know, like chunks of ice to your right finger, your other finger.
You would just
You would,
spend the
you
day
would
doing
definitely
this.
do that and see what
Aye.
happens. Aye.
Definitely.
We both done it at the same time. Aye.
Aye. You'd have to be careful when you were be picky what hand you were using when you were up to certain activities as well.
Aye, could you
Just
imagine
use a
like
different finger, right?
like picking your nose and you suddenly cauterize it?
Pick your nose. I'm glad that's the one you thought of, John. Right. Fattest Pricker said, see the wee part of your brain that tells your bum you need a shite as you get near your house. Could that be put to better use? And if so, what could it be used for?
The wee part of your brain that does what? Sorry, that tells you that you need a shite.
Aye, that
We
tells you.
spoke about that last week, didn't we? Because that's what I think I said that when you're getting closer to the door. We spoke about 2 steps forward, 1 step back, and all that.
Have we talked about the sphincter? Apparently, there's like 2 sphincters, and one of them is basically like, its job is to tell you whether it's a fart or a shite. So your brain knows if it's okay to let it go.
Didn't know that.
Aye, apparently that's true.
I'm sure we've talked about it here before.
Aye,
There you go.
you'd have to trust that. That's probably the body part that you've got the most trust in working in. Because if that goes wrong, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
Why is it though that you think? Why is it that when you're bursting on a pee or a shite, there's a point where you realise that you're bursting, and say you're a mile away from the house, there's a point on that mile-long journey back to the house where you get comfortable with it. You're like, it's fine. I have got absolute control of this. I am a master of my own body. And then you undo the belt when you're next to the toilet and you're ready to shit. You're ready to piss or shit yourself. Like you've made it that far. Why is that?
Well, it's that little bit in your brain that Alex is talking about. So I think that would be, if you could use that for something else, it'd be for remembering the thing that you were going to do when you go home. Because that's the thing I forget all the time. Like I'm hopeless at remembering things. So if instead of telling me I needed a shite, if it went, mind text Colin or fire up the laptop so it doesn't update it just before you start your podcast.
Aye, so it's something that forces you to do something that you were already going to do prematurely.
You know what I'm thinking? Something that makes people be on fucking time. I hate people are late, right? So, like, so it's a kind of what you're saying there, a reminder, but like punctuality. I'm not just talking about you being late to start this and right? I'm talking in general about.
Just talking about you, mate.
I know.
I'm meeting at work, or I'll meet you at fucking 2:30 or whatever, and you're standing there. Because I at work I give maximum 6 minutes. That's it. Well, that's 5 done, right? That's it. 6 minutes. Just kind of call or leave the wherever it is I was meeting. You see, you're late. So I think it's a sign of disrespect. I think being late, like to get on serious with that. I fucking hate it. So something to make people be on time.
All right, Ricky says, is Crufts just for dog perverts? What is the point of Crufts?
Guys that drive lorries.
What is the point of Crufts? Like, I've never kind of got it. Like, how do they decide which dogs the way it should be, etc.?
It's just, is it not just? I've never watched them. Is it not just a competition? Do they get them to like the ones that've got made up the best, like their hair done and all that, or the ones that can run around the assault course quickest or whatever?
So this is just basically for dog perverts.
Aye, it's just like enthusiasts, isn't it? That want to train their dog up to a really high standard. Right?
Is it for folk that can't train themselves up to that standard? Like they can't get a decent haircut, they can't jump a hurdle, so they get their dogs to do it.
Aye,
could be. Could be. Have you ever watched it?
Jump the hurdles the dogs do it. I've only seen clips. I've never sat down and watched the programme though. I've seen them running around a short course because it's all about them. It's all about the command and the whistles and all that.
I've actually got a wee bit of time for the dog assault course, and I say a wee bit of time. Like if I've ever seen a clip of it on YouTube or Twitter or whatever. But it seems like, do you remember? So that's something that's broadcast in the BBC, right?
Mm-hmm.
Used to be,
but they also broadcast it like years ago now. Did they not do like a sort of sheepdog trial kind of thing?
One Man and His Dog, it was called.
Aye, like what the?
I was on recently. My old man likes all that shit. I'm all man likes all that shit. I'll go down on a Sunday, and if it's no fucking songs of praise on, it's the sheepdogs. I'm going, Dad, fucking Super Sundays on. Like, what the fuck? What's going on? Like, what the fuck? Aye. Because he likes dogs, so he fucking sheepdog trials. Like, what the fuck? They're just chasing sheep a bit, but
But like, see if you see it once, like it's fascinating that someone has that control over a dog that they can say, right, do this or do that in their specific command, and it makes them like crowd the sheep to the right or crowd the sheep to the left, and that's it. But week after week after week, like, what's going on?
I know. But you came up with my
was
old man.
competitive,
That's what
wasn't
that
it?
is. Aye, but my old man says to that is, aye, but if I put the fib on, it's just 22 guys chasing after a ball every week, week after week after week.
With the manager whistling, come bite, come bite.
Kick it harder. He did it. I know that's stuff that we get to hear them. Those going, I did come up, Dave. You didn't tell me to kick it. How am I making I'm fucking kicking it?
Sheep didn't dive either.
Right, Neil Renton says, I can't see the following question going wrong, and I'm surprised it's not been asked before. What's the strangest thing you've had in your mouth? He says, I remember as a kid putting a batter in my tongue, the joys of being working class and having to make your own entertainment. It's the strangest thing.
I
think most folk tried the batter, eh?
Aye, yeah.
I think Ian, well, Warren, Colin, we found this thing, must have put it in our mouth right enough, but this thing outside his house one time, and do you remember how we would describe it? Do you remember Skeletrics when you were wee and they had the handle thing with a wee clicker, right?
Yeah.
It looked like that, but not connected to anything. And it says, do not click near your ear. So, what do we do? We're like, that teacher, brain damage. Like, click, 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 click.
And it fucking drew as well. There's loads of things.
It's true, look what happened. He's mental. So but that obviously that doesn't fit in the what's the strangest thing you've had in your mouth category. I suppose there's weird food like frog's legs. I've had frog's legs, which were interesting.
I've had oysters. I've never had frog's legs though. What else have I had? See, when I was younger, for reasons that I do not remember, I put a pound coin in my mouth and accidentally swallowed it. Tried to give myself the Heimlich maneuver, never saw that pound coin again. For all I know, it's still rattling about inside me.
You could be like a walking fruit machine.
Aye.
One day, if you put more in, it'll come out.
Put more in, pull my arm, see what happens.
Somebody will win. What were you calling?
I'm trying to think of something. The only thing that's come to mind is when I used to get a cold when I was younger, Mum used to get me this medicine. And I think it's no strange because it's a fucking medicine you take when you've got the cold, but it was like warm or lukewarm water you put in it and it was brown. Right? This fucking stuff. And it used to make you gag every time you got a whiff of it or smelt it. I think it's a cough medicine, so it's not really that fucking strange. It's what it's for, but it was fucking just warm.
Did you swallow it? Did you swallow it or did you gargle with it?
Well, I tried to swallow, but I was always gagging because I fucking smell it and the look at it. But I swallow. It was a proper swallow. I can't remember what it was called, but it was brown and you put lukewarm water in it.
You know, I was just wondering if it was maybe TCP. Are you not meant to be able to
gargle
gargle with TCP for a sore throat?
TCP, I used to have to gargle with that for mouth ulcers.
And you could use it on your spots and that, eh?
Aye.
But no, that wasn't for that. Wasn't that. Definitely not that. I wasn't drinking TCP.
That's rank as well with TCP. And actually now we're talking about it, I can taste it. Like having to, I always used to, I don't get them so much now, but when I was wee, I used to get fucking horrendous mouth ulcers. And you try anything.
You had a serious methamphetamine habit when you were.
Aye, definitely. If I get it undone, that's when I get them. But they're never re-ins. Yeah, it was like massive.
I got something once for it a few years ago now, and it was something you basically just burn your inside of your mouth, and it's done once. It's not like Benjela and all that. You stick on you. They're constantly fucking tasting it. It was this thing at the boots that I think it was you. Somebody said it for you. Hold your lap or whatever open, you put it in, it just burns you. And it's away, but then your whole skin inside your mouth's just away, but the ulcer's away. That's the beauty of it.
You're hard as nails, Colin, eh? Like you're like one of those guys that would be out in the wilderness with a gunshot wound or something. You just be pouring more gunpowder and setting it on fire, just fucking whoosh.
Yeah. I'll eat it out. Right, Andy says, what 3 things would you like to be shown on the new screens at ER? And could there be a 15-minute version of Shortbangers show where people could text in their questions? Can you imagine if Hibs let us loose at half time? Answering questions. Aye.
Could have pre-recorded one though, for like a 10-minute one, because you would need to get Barry reading out his numbers and that. And
aye. You could do a quick one. Just beep, 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 beep.
They should have Longbangers responding to the tweets that folks send to the Hibs official account and have them displayed on the board.
That would be decent. I think you'd like to see goals against the team that we're playing, especially when there's away fans there. Because it's just 15 minutes and they've got no choice but to fucking watch them as well. I would do that because that's just.
We get them, noise them up a bit, but
Aye.
in dangerous stuff. I suppose is there one? There's got to be one near the away end,
Aye.
What side's it on the east or the? That's the one on the east side.
Aye, they're both for the east
So
side.
just got stuff get chucked at chairs and
I
that.
wonder if that would. So you know how the damages that the away fans cause, it gets charged to the away club. Say it was a seat for the away and that was to damage the screens. I'm sure that would be charged to the away club as well.
Aye, would be.
Oh, good way of making clubs go bust as well.
Aye, but I would have targets
Aye.
with scores, a bullseye.
£100, £500, £1 million in the middle.
You could maybe, I don't know. You could. I was just thinking before that if you had Rangers at Easter Road, like obviously there's a couple of iconic goals against them, but you could have maybe for your
Get the
target, you could maybe have David Gray or Tony Stokes as the bullseye.
Aye, we could have a massive game of catchphrase. Kind of like make it super competitive with everybody in the stadium trying to fucking guess it. Just one square at a time going. Behind the one with Mr. Chips where he's standing.
I was going to say that was the one I was just thinking of. Classic.
Would you replace Mr. Chips with Sunshine on? Was it Sunshine the Leaf?
The Leaf Links? Oh, aye, something like that. Anyway,
just get him animated and just cut a bit.
Aye. Okay. Doug's shouting at me. It's like sitting there. Look how much shouting. He's probably needing it. Yeah, I'll shout to the bear now.
Can't get angles to put in the screens. It would just have to be all goals in that. You would get the happy IB numbers up because it's the one that you usually get. What was the happy IB numbers? Stick them on the fucking screen and then everybody's sorts that out.
Aye. Okay, Mixu99 says, serious question, Ish. Why do we think Hearts have this weird, almost dangerous obsession of referencing Hibs when they make an announcement? It's fucking creepy. They do it every time. It doesn't matter what they're talking about.
From my perspective, at least, it's taken off a wee bit. I think since Stendhal took charge, I can't remember any particular statements or anything before that, but when Stendhal took charge, there was a very weird way that they wrote their statement announcing them to say he was in charge of the team that finished above essentially the Hibs manager's former team.
Aye.
And it was just a long, long way to go about saying we're the big team.
Aye. Yeah.
Go and fuck off.
That all started, I think I was talking about this, my mate the other day, he's a Hearts fan actually. He was talking about the obviously the foundation taking over and all that, or officially, and saying that he doesn't get why the comparisons between the HSL thing and Hearts, because they had to do it. They had to do it. They were going bust. It was just a voluntary thing, and it would be much the same if we were to go bust. Then they would get a similar response rate to it. That's what he was saying. But we were talking that I think when Romanov came in, remember he bought the boy Fireworks Phil? I can't remember his surname. Anderton or Anderson or something. He was the one that started all the docks, the
Docksiders,
and all that shit. And that's when it really sort of, again, like that. It wasn't great in the 90s with Mercer and all that. But you know what I mean? It was at that point that they wanted to create this. We're much bigger than them. They're not the competition anymore. Chat. Special relationship with cups and all that shit, and that the young team there that are probably populating it on social media and the message boards more so than folk your age are the ones that are running away with it and making it look and sound worse. I know they've always had a bit of superiority complex, but for folk your age, it's because of the 80s and 90s, the Derby results.
See, if you had that superiority complex, if it was as big as they said, why do we have any relevance anymore?
Oh, it's because they have that realization where they win fuck all. So all they've got is that. You know, like they've won the Scottish Cup more than that, so like, what to fucking do, right? So they have. They've not won it loads of times though. You know, it's not like the Rangers or Celtic who win it all the time. They've won it a handful of times.
Once or twice more,
in their history. So it's a couple of times more. They've beat us 3 times at Hampden, right? It's only 3 times. Again, it's not like masters of the time. And they get pumped off everybody else. Do you know, like Rangers and Celtic pump them more often than not. they got relegated, Ken, and they were getting beat off crappy wee teams in the Championship, as we did when we were doing it, because that's what happens in football. So it's all they can hang on to is this kind of, we'll make it with a big team, like as if that's relevant to fucking anything. Like they're big, they're big in their heads, but they're no like Rangers and Celtic, and they go, oh, fucking that Hearts are a big club, eh? It's like Newcastle or something going, you've got Rangers, Celtic, Hearts, and then everybody else. They go,
and they
Rangers,
get bracketed. It's still bracketed. Anybody when it's no Rangers Celtic, it's Hearts, Hibs, Aberdeen, or Hibs, Hearts, Aberdeen, whatever order. It's never the three clubs are the same size.
Aye.
Aberdeen had a good spell in the 80s. Hibs had a good spell in the 70s. Hearts had a better spell in the 90s. I don't know. 90s, but you know what I mean? That was they all get classed the same. I don't care why they're trying to. I don't know if they even know they're doing it. If you were to ask them,
it's because the I suppose like if you were to strip everything back and go, what does it all really boil down to? It's the fact that they've all got tiny cocks, even the women. Right, last question for tonight's episode comes from Kieran Heaney. He says, if a straw is supposed to have one hole in it, then why is there one at the bottom and one at the top? Plus, if you rub the back of your ear, it feels like a Haribo fried egg sweet.
Kieran, what drugs are you on, mate?
I
Can you bring some at the live show?
There's one hole in the straw.
But there is one at the top and the bottom as well, isn't there?
And there's one other way through. There's one hole.
Oh, do you know, see now that he mentions it, the back of your ear does feel like the white bit on a fried egg. Like on the Haribo fried egg.
I had a wee feel there, but I need the fried egg to compare with. I've not got
why Dyson went for Holyfield that time then. That's what I connect.
Oh.
You actually like kid in the side of his brain go like Homer Simpson, but he just sees it go like fucking sweetie, I'm having that. All right, I think about the straw. It's one hole with 2 entry points or exit points.
If it only had, oh no, wait, hang on. No, ignore me. I was going to say if it only had one hole, it wouldn't be a straw. Like there wouldn't be any. You couldn't create any suction. You just be sucking against itself.
It'd be a polo mint.
But it's got an exit and entry point. Are they considered 2 holes, or is that considered one passage? What's the difference? Do you know what I mean?
I know what you mean.
Does a tunnel have 2 holes, or is it one passage?
Just one passage, isn't it? One big hole.
Aye.
It's got a start.
What defines a hole? Text it into 89295.
Right, on that note, thanks for listening. We'll be back on Friday with episode 62. See you then.
Well, they trailed me down when I broke free. I drank all the whiskey in Tennessee.